even if it is a low percentage, there is a greater risk of thyroid cancer, for example, if you're on certain GLPs. That's what they're called, these types of, Ozempic. And, you still have to read the fine print. It's like when you see those commercials on TV, that's like, here's this medication, but half of the commercial is saying, oh, and it might cause drowsiness, death.
Oh my God.
Cancer of this, pancreatic issues, this, that, and the other.
Hey, everybody. It's Diane Gilman, formerly known as the Queen of Jeans from QVC-HSN, but now the proud host of my two podcasts, Too Young to Be Old, named after my second book, and Fashion Thursdays with Diane. Well, today we are talking about the dreaded M word. And honestly, we have got an incredible guest. Alicia Jones has dedicated her career to transforming the health and the lives of women over 50, which I consider that's where the classical wall is between no menopause, perimenopause, and postmenopause. So she has devoted her life to helping women through that period of their lives with fitness routines and weight loss. Oh, I gained so much weight in menopause. I was almost unrecognizable. So for any of you who are about to go through it or in the middle of it or have gone through it, things need to change. How we do our exercise needs to change. How we approach weight loss, how we approach diet. So let's start with why it is so important for women over 50 to approach fitness differently from their youth.
I think, first of all, by the way, thank you for having me on your show.
Pleasure.
First of all, let's talk about what usually happens in your 20s, right? You usually it's time to lose some weight or get fit. You're going to go for long aerobic activity. You're going to do as much as you possibly can. It's time to diet. Especially back in the day, it was about restricting calories. And,
Yeah,
eat less, move more. But with age, that changes. First of all, we need to take a look at what's going on hormonally, especially in postmenopause. Now, you've got a new low of estrogen. Estrogen is anabolic. This is going to create lean muscle. And so you don't have that same mechanism anymore. Lean muscle declines with age, and lean muscle is in charge not only of your metabolic rate, but it's also in charge of your quality of life. So for each
totally. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Your legs are pure muscle. If at the end you do not have that lean muscle in your legs, you're more likely to shuffle, fall, risks of falls and bone breaks increases with age. So you really have to pay attention to the quality of your workout and not doing these long, intense workouts.
So what do you suggest?
Weight training. You have got to start weight training if you are not already. And the quality of your weight training workout matters. If you're just starting out, it's not about lifting as heavy as you possibly can over your head, especially if you're worried about injury, but you have to have a stimulus that feels hard yet doable in order for you to grow lean muscle, in order for you to create this anabolic muscle growth without bulking up. And I have to say that because a lot of women say, oh, I don't want to bulk up. You won't bulk up. We're women. We have 45-fold less testosterone than men. We can't.
So I'm going to ask you a question that's very personally based for me. So between going through breast cancer treatment for a year and a half, having COVID hit and being very inactive at home, and frankly, chemotherapy was definitely a challenge. So you tend to not be as active for sure. And then finding out that I had arthritis in one knee for the very reasons that you gave for exercising early on, extended aerobics by running every day. I have tried to do a customizable exercise program that's a little bit like chair yoga, but it's more like metabolic chair exercises. I'm not sure I could use my legs with any kind of weight training. What are your suggestions if your joints are arthritic?
Yes. So, first and foremost, one of the exercises I suggest is standing to sitting. So, sit down, stand up. And that does use your legs. It's a squat,
Yeah.
but it's also an activity you have to be able to do every day. But that doesn't mean you have to lift hundreds of pounds on your back in order to do the sit down, stand up. There are other mechanisms that you can use that are going to be less hard on your joints. So, for example, if you hold onto a counter, that displaces the weight. You're holding onto the counter, but then you're sitting down, you're getting the mobility of a squat, but you're also getting into those leg muscles. And you really want to work the leg muscles because they are most in charge of reducing your risk of falls.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
I
you're
mean,
talking about arthritis.
mobility is everything as you get older. And for somebody like me who was in a gym, I was such a gym rat in my youth, and I was at a gym every day and I was running morning and night. The idea of walking with a limp now is driving me berserk.
Mhm.
And so that is a really, really good piece of advice. And then I'm going to ask you something that you brought up to me.
Mhm.
What are the three foods included in meal prep for a natural and energy boost? Because to me, the lack of any kind of estrogen is the enemy. And you will find that you have less energy as you go through the menopausal process. Name me three foods that you feel are great energy boosting without being addictive like sugar.
Okay, salmon. Let's talk about salmon. Salmon's high in protein. You need your protein. You need it for energy. You need it to help with that lean muscle. And the more lean muscle you have, the more it's easier to do everyday activities so you keep your
Oh,
energy.
yeah.
And it is high in omega 3s. Omega 3 is anti inflammatory. So the more inflammation you have, the more fatigue it causes, the more it's going to cause a flare up in your arthritis. And from what the studies show, the more arthritis you feel, the more fatigue you feel. So it's really about how can you start to suppress that inflammation.
Oh, totally.
Mhm.
I have to say I'm almost 80, and that is my really one and only complaint. So I do salmon. I probably should do it a little more, but name two other things that are going to give me a natural sense of well-being and energy boost.
Okay, the next one is beans or legumes. Beans or legumes are a triple threat. One, they're carbs. People are afraid of carbs these days. You need some carbs in order to give you energy, especially if you're doing your strength training and your exercise.
Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, you bonk, which means you basically hit a wall and you feel really tired. People that cut way too back on carbs go through things like the flu sensations, keto flu, it's called. You feel really achy in the joints. You've done a workout and you're not recovering. It's taking much longer to recover. So you need to have some carbohydrates to fuel you.
Okay, so I want to talk about two things within this food category.
Mm-hmm.
Beans. Canned beans?
Well, you don't have to do canned
But are
beans.
canned beans acceptable, or you would say every time go for freshly prepared or soak them overnight, or what is going to get the best result?
I think the best result is the kind of bean you're going to eat because, frankly, a
Ha
lot of people
ha!
don't even want to eat them. So, if we can get them, and I will give one quick tip if you put black beans in a chocolate protein smoothie, for
Oh,
example,
yes.
it
Yes.
decides the taste and it's
It's
delicious.
unbelievable. I got a recipe for black bean brownies that were like the best brownies in the world. Shock of all shocks, right?
Yes.
So I don't know what legumes are. I speak a little bit of French, so I presume it's a green vegetable. But let's explain what legumes are.
Okay, so beans and legumes are in the same family of pulses. We're talking about chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, navy beans,
Garbanzo,
lentils, garbanzos. Yes, all of the
lentils,
lentils.
lentils.
Lentils, lentils. The other big thing with this is that it's high in fiber, and especially with age, it's really hard to get the fiber content we need.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So important.
Mhm.
Okay, so I can find within this grouping, I could just make my freshly made chicken soup
Mhm.
with lentils and
Yeah.
have a delicious winter soup, but also it might be a lot better for me than putting pasta noodles into it.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yes. Yeah. It's very, very high in fiber and resistant starch. And one of the things that takes our energy as well is that basically we're not metabolizing things the same way. We can get brain fog or fatigue. And that's because the little microorganisms in our intestines are not fueled properly. And so we need to get in resistant starches such as the beans, the lentils, the legumes in order to feed the healthy bacteria that's going to help create energy, reduce brain fog. So that's why I call beans the triple threat.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got some work ahead of me because if I eat beans like once a year, that's a lot. And it's weird too because I was actually raised in Southern California on a lot of great Mexican food made from scratch. And I loved beans. And then somewhere along the way, it just fell away.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
everybody is always talking about red meat. In my family, I don't think we ever the only way we had beans
Mm-hmm.
was beans and brown sugar to go with hot dogs. Not a great combo, but okay. So now we've got beans and legumes, and that's where I really need to do my work. What is the third
I'm
food
going to
group?
say tempeh. Tempeh is a soy-based fermented product. It is very high in protein. Again, we talked already about why you need to have protein.
Yeah.
And we know with plant-based, if the more you can have a plant-related diet, the greater your quality of life, the more energy you're going to have, and overall, there may be a probability of living longer in a healthy way, as in
Now,
with good, because there's no point in living long if at the end of the day, the last 10 years of your life are spent lying in bed just wasting away, right? Hmm.
absolutely. And I do want to emphasize to everybody out of all the different age groups you will experience in a long life. Hi, it's Diane Gilman. Guess what? If you are in the same bucket I'm in, which is women over 50, and you're thinking to yourself, how do I find out the best products to use? Maybe you've heard me talk about Purity Woods, and maybe you've asked me, I don't know, Diane, why do you love it? I'll tell you. Your skin is your passport to your visual to the world. If your skin is glowy, if your skin is healthy, you just generally look younger and are treated as a more vibrant personality. Why do I like Purity Woods? 100% organic. There is so much pollution in the air, so much pollution even if I go to wash my face with tap water. So many chemicals. I truly appreciate products that not only feel pure, but the scent of Purity Woods is just unbelievably refreshing. So, you know what? Give it a try. Get a discount using the code in the caption. Purity Woods. I love these products, and two of my very favorites from Purity Woods are the makeup remover, the exfoliator, which is just sort of like magic. So, also, ladies, remember one more thing. As we age past 50, we do not turn over our skin cells as quickly as we did in our 20s, 30s, or 40s. You need not only a great makeup remover, but you need a great exfoliator to urge new skin cells to come to the fore. Purity Woods, they've got it all. Past the age of 50, definitely past the age of 65, you must be in control
Mm.
of your health and your diet. Western medicine is only going to wait until you get a condition and then give you a drug that actually takes away any chance that your body could solve the issue and right itself, as in statins or high blood pressure medicine. So to me, I call it health span. There is lifespan and there is health span. And I live it every day. I mean, I've got a certain amount of real pain on a weight bearing part of my body, my right knee and hip, and I deal with it, but I don't want more of it. I want to figure out all the ways to have less of that. So, do you have any tips for making meal prep easier
Mhm.
so that people, especially women over 50, who have taken care of everybody else all their lives, but are really not the greatest at self care, including me? I put my business up as my child all my life, and everything was, oh, I'm too busy. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, I've got another TV show.
Mhm.
And not a good way to go. So I want to eat healthy and eat direct foods, not super processed foods.
Mhm.
Give us some tips on meal prep.
Okay, first, there are two really ways to make it easy. One, this day and age, there are actual places where you can order all of the fresh food products to come.
Yes,
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 that's
I
it.
do that.
And
Yeah.
it takes out a lot of guesswork as well, right? Like, how is that working for you?
Well, for instance, yesterday I had a series of meetings,
Mhm.
Zoom meetings, and then podcasts, and then more. And I had very little time to eat. I had bought chopped carrots, chopped white onion, chopped celery, in other words, mirepoix. And
Mm.
instead of buying the whole vegetable and cutting it up and throwing parts of it away, I had three easy boxes to open, threw that in, put in bone broth, chicken bone broth, super healthy. And then I use chicken thighs. Ordinarily I'd rather use wings, but I didn't have any. 20 minutes later, I had the equivalent. Oh, I put in, I'll admit it, I put in some noodles, regular noodles. But 20 minutes later, I had, I think, a very healthy,
Mhm.
delicious dish with nothing mass produced in it. And I always make sure my chicken is pasture raised,
Mhm.
air chilled. I go through the whole thing.
And you can basically get all of those products yourself. Like they're already done, they're already cut up. You take out all of the prep
Yeah.
work for it and it's done. All of the get like you just basically have to throw it together and that's a great way of doing things. And the other thing you can do is anytime, because I'm sure you made those noodles, right? You made the noodles, you boiled them. Why not mass make them so that you can freeze a whole bunch of the servings really quickly, but you made it at that one time. That's what I do with brown rice. I have baggies and baggies full of Ziploc brown rice and quinoa, because if I make it just one time during the week, I can make a whole bunch of it, freeze the bags, and then I can just quickly microwave it or heat it up in order to make it super easy.
You know, super easy, especially for women over 50,
Mhm.
is very important because as you get done raising your children or caring for your husband, whatever it is, you don't want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. And if you're alone at this point in your life, that is one of the loneliest duties ever, clean up.
Mm.
Uh, the making it is always anticipatory. The cleanup is always like the letdown, like I don't want to do this again. So tell me, you have a saying that abs, a good set of abs, are made in the kitchen. How that happen? How does nutrition influence exercise
How does it influence? Well, okay, so first, you can do a really
or
good weight
complement?
training. Yes, so you could do a really good weight training workout, but we talked about how estrogen goes down, and so you don't have that building power. Plus, our ability to use the protein that we take in, it
Yes,
declines. So,
yes.
what we need to do is create a really good nutrition profile that helps enhance lean muscle. So for example, instead of focusing in on cutting back calories, what we need to focus in on is the macronutrient profile. More protein is better. And that, again, that doesn't mean that you don't eat carbs. We need non-refined, good, healthy carb sources, but protein becomes key. It's key for weight loss. It's key for, because it enhances your lean muscle, and then the carbohydrates are what's going to fuel you so that during your workout you have the energy to actually follow through with a good workout.
So I want to go back. I just want to circle back to something, which is tempeh, which is a source of soy. I am somebody who had a hormonal based cancer. And frankly, I took replacement therapy way too long, but here I am. Do I feel okay about eating soy or
No,
tempeh?
that's a general guideline I would give somebody. But if you've had breast cancer that was the hormone related breast cancer,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily want to be ingesting a lot of soy products. So I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
unfortunately, because I must be one of the only human beings alive that actually liked soy products and kind of I like the way they can absorb any flavor. But no tofu for me, huh?
No, no. But
No.
instead, what I would give you is maybe maca. Maca is something, just a teaspoon of maca. It's actually a Peruvian root. It's an adaptogen, so it helps with energy levels. It helps balance out stress levels, and we know that high stress can be really zapping on your energy levels, right? If you're in this state of wired but tired, you're not sleeping well because you're really stressed.
Wired but tired. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I hear today repeatedly is cortisol, cortisol,
hmm
cortisol.
hmm
And it sounds to me like that's what you're talking about, wired but tired because of high cortisol levels.
Yes, which as women, we are more susceptible to.
Ah,
And in menopause to postmenopause, we are very susceptible to high levels of cortisol because our adrenals, which produce the cortisol, they try and help out to produce some estrogen when you're going through the menopause into postmenopause transition. So they're really taxed, not to mention sleep patterns change and, busy lives. You're still at the end of taking care of kids or, whatever the case may be. It's a busy, busy time as well. And so there's a number of reasons, but women are much more affected by cortisol levels. So you need to
it,
balance it
it
out.
is so interesting that you don't know, and then somebody, and it was Deepak Chopra actually, brings it to light because he's selling a product, Malinga, that's about cortisol levels,
Mm.
supposedly. I don't know. I bought it because it was Deepak.
How's it
But,
helping?
well, it seems to me that one thing I'm totally always focused on is the pain from inflammation
Mm,
on my right leg, my weight bearing knee, my poor weight bearing knee.
mm,
And I know that I am totally susceptible to cortisol, even though I have been through menopause for many a year, a couple of decades, almost three. Um, I can only tell you this. Whenever I see some kind of explanation, and I think rarely, but I do, you know what? I have those symptoms. That's me. I'm going to try it. Sometimes I can feel an almost instant difference. I would say I feel more whole, like all different parts have now found another connection that improves them. And I think that the inflammation is improved.
mhm. Well, I'm glad that you check in with your body because what I find with a lot of people is they're like, oh, I'm in pain, and I'm in pain. But when the pain stops, they totally forgot they ever had pain until they have it again. And so there's never really this check in to see, okay, was this thing working? Was maca working or salmon helping me with the inflammation? Or is it just, now I had pain and then I didn't have pain and then it's coming back again. You need to check
No,
in.
I'm always checking in with my body to see what's working, what's not, and I will stay with the vitamin regime for about 2 to 3 months, and I've got three different vitamin regimes I use,
Mhm.
so I don't let my body get all like, oh, it's that again. Yeah, just ignore that. I try to freshen it up, and then I got a set of detox vitamins, and I use those also. But one thing I know for sure, and ladies, anybody with any kind of sensitivity towards medical strategy will back both Alicia and I up. It is so important that what you eat and how you move, you keep checking that it's beneficial for you. No one past 50, no one is going to do this for you. And I find with GPs, even the finest, I live in a city populated by great doctors. Um, they never talk to you about diet. They never talk to you about anything natural or holistic.
Or they do talk to you about diet, but it's not because that's what they went to school for, at least around here. So there's a lot of doctors that think, oh, I'm going to give you this weight loss program, and you see them on YouTube or in the media, and they're talking. Down here, there's one that is huge for very controversial intermittent fasting protocols. I'm not going to mention anybody by names, but as a medical doctor, you may at most have 3 months on average of nutrition education, if
Isn't
even.
That's mind blowing. And I also think that, and I don't know how their profitability works, but they're very, very pro not having your body do the work or you do the work and change your lifestyle, but rather get you on medicines for what are going to be the inevitable or onslaught of results from not eating right, from sitting around too much. So, everybody I know, and New York City is a wealthy city, no doubt about it, and a vain city. Everyone I know has asked for Ozempic because they've got a conference to go to in a month, a wedding to go to, they've got to fit into the dress, a vacation, got to get on a bathing suit. I've never met anybody who was obese who took Ozempic. But one thing I know for sure, it does not educate you or help you to change your diet so that you can take it for a limited time
Mhm.
and then carry on, not gaining the weight back or, yeah.
Yeah, the
What's your,
research shows that you have to basically be on it forever, for one. For two, there is research showing that because you're eating a lot less, you're wasting your lean muscle because you aren't able to fuel your lean muscle. So one of the heavy emphases as healthcare providers is you have to eat a lot of protein to make sure that you still maintain your muscle. But because you're on Ozempic or there's Mounjaro now and Wegovy, there's a whole bunch that are starting to
yeah,
come out. Basically, you can't eat that much because that's what the drug is supposed to be doing. So you're
exactly.
not fueling your body, you're not fueling your lean muscle. It's very, very hard to do that. And you have to take it as seriously when you're on it. You have to look at your nutrition and your exercise regime as seriously, if not more, because you risk wasting away if you are on these medications. So people
Now,
go
I
on it.
I know three highly successful,
Mhm,
incredibly intelligent people that were put on Ozempic for just a little weight loss. Not one of them
mhm,
ever had a discussion with the doctor about nutrition, nutritional needs, goals
mhm,
set beyond I want to lose 15 pounds or 10 pounds. And nobody ever talked to them about protein, lean muscle mass. It just isn't done. And it seems to me that we live in a society that reacts to disease with medicine rather than instructing you how to avoid the disease by yourself,
Mhm.
which would not be very profitable for the medical community.
No.
But I'm very reticent to take any of those products.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, 100%. And if
And
you read the fine print, even if it is a low percentage, there is a greater risk of thyroid cancer, for example,
ooh,
if you're on certain GLPs. That's what they're called, these types of, Ozempic. And anyways, there's you still have to read the fine print. It's like when you see those commercials on TV, that's like, here's this medication, but half
yeah.
of the commercial is saying, oh, and it might cause drowsiness,
Oh
death,
my God.
cancer,
Oh,
cancer of this, yeah,
yeah.
pancreatic issues, this, that, and the other. You have to go through half of a 1 minute commercial just on all of the bad things that are going to
Yeah.
happen to you.
And you don't want to hear about it anyway,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, that's right. You really need to pay attention to that full commercial and listen to that
But
second half.
they just did, and I'm not sure whether it was the FDA, but I think it was, just did a survey in America. 75% of Americans are from overweight to obese.
Mm,
75%. On the other hand, ultra processed foods like McDonald's and Burger King and KFC,
mhm,
I don't ever hear any discussions about those and how destructive they are
mhm,
for your body. The only reason actually that business for McDonald's has gone down is they raised their prices. So
mm.
it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm eating over processed foods. This is so unhealthy. I'm going to change my life. It was just like, this used to cost $5 for a McDonald's meal. Now it's costing 10.
Mhm.
I'll just find another fast food provider.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no education and there is absolutely no, I would almost say transparency
Mm, mhm,
that the foods you're eating are going to affect
yeah.
when you get Alzheimer's,
Mhm,
if you get Alzheimer's, when you get on that scale and that doctor says you are actually the national definition of obesity,
mhm,
all of that is just left to the ethers and it's another pill, another shot, another pill, another shot. So the one thing I would like to know, and I think that even though I think I'm doing a good thing for myself in the morning, breakfast,
mhm,
when I really break it down, I think I'm consuming tons of sugar. So I'll have,
mm.
let's say, a sourdough English muffin, organic, but okay, it's still sourdough and it's still basically
Well,
wheat
you know what?
based.
Let's go on to the sourdough though, because I think sourdough's gotten a bad rap. If it is naturally made, we're talking about, it's not just like you were talking about, a big corporation giving you thousands of loaves, and then you look at the actual ingredients and
No,
it's
it
like,
has very few ingredients in it.
yeah, well, we were talking about gut microbiome. The
Yeah.
sourdough fuels your gut microbiome in a healthy way, the good, healthy bacteria. So, from that standpoint, because the healthy gut microbiome helps you keep a good, stable blood sugar, in and of itself, having sourdough in your diet isn't bad. But what are you having with it?
Something I've got to give up, and I've had a really hard time doing it, which is a vegan-based butter substitute, but it's got a lot of canola oil in it. None of what it has in it as oils, they're all vegetable oils, is good for my inflammation.
And yeah, it sounds like it's omega-6 vegetable oils that they have, like the sunflower and the canola oils in there.
Yeah,
And you want
yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
more like an avocado-based one, or one that's like got flax seed in it,
Haven't
or
found it yet, but then they say use butter, but then the doctor says, there's your cholesterol. And then I either put manuka honey on top of it,
okay, manuka.
or or the minute it gets cold outside, I'm I'm bad to the bone. I will do a fruit spread, which is a nice word for jam. which has, of course, a lot of sugar in it. So here
Where
I
is your
am.
protein? Where is your protein?
Because she screamed at me, my GP, and said, "You can't eat eggs. They're going to give you cholesterol." I don't know anything else to eat for breakfast,
Do
and
you
I don't
have
consider.
cholesterol issues, may I ask? Do you have
I
cholesterol?
only had cholesterol issues after chemo
Hmm.
and radiation, and I was eating for chemo a lot of creamy foods that
Mm-hmm.
would not upset your stomach, right? Rice
Mm-hmm.
pudding, tapioca, vanilla pudding, stuff like that. So I had really high cholesterol. I took 6 months, cut all of that out. Plus, I was eating a lot of vanilla ice cream. I'm going to admit it. Um,
You have to
and
eat at that time whatever you can keep down and what feels good in the mouth at that point and
yeah,
what
and
you
when
can
I
just
came
eat.
back, no more cholesterol. It was perfect.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm having a problem with breakfast proteins. You are absolutely correct. I love eggs. Just sunny side up, nothing fancy. But she said, "You're going to die of cholesterol if you eat eggs." So she scared me and I stopped eating. It takes a lot to scare me.
Mhm.
But I got scared and I stopped eating eggs. And I love eggs. And so I have like one egg a month. It's
Oh
like a
no.
big day for me
Mhm.
to have a sourdough, even great sourdough bread, and an egg sunny
Mhm.
side up. Like the biggest treat in the world. But yeah.
Well, for some people, that does affect their cholesterol. But if you have some wiggle room, I would test that out because most of the foods you were explaining you were able to eat were higher in sugar and they would also be higher in fats, which would affect your triglyceride numbers.
Very high fat.
Yeah.
Super high fat.
Yeah, whereas
Yeah.
all of the nutrients comes from the yolk. If you had eggs a couple of times a week, I can't see that affecting your cholesterol. However, for some people, certain foods do affect their cholesterol if you're more prone to having issues with cholesterol.
I think I just had a breast cancer diet where
Mhm.
it was almost like a baby diet where everything you ate was creamy, was not savory,
Mhm.
and had a lot of white stuff in it.
And
So
also,
that
when you had breast cancer, when you went through the treatment, a lot of times women going through chemo and radiation, even their vitamin D numbers plummet, like they go way down, and that affects cholesterol. That affects cholesterol big time. So if at that time your vitamin D numbers ended up being very low, then that could have raised your cholesterol levels as well.
yeah. And so then I took vitamin D, and then she said, "You're killing yourself with vitamin D. You don't need it." I mean, can I tell you what? As you get older, there are so many different points of view. It
Mhm.
is so confusing. And by older, I'm just going to put up a giant wall and say on one side is youth with all your hormones pumping away, and the other side is no longer your youth. And that's where you truly need to become the number one participant
Mhm.
in your health and your quality of life. You know what?
And
I
your
think,
number one advocate. I'm going to say the number one advocate because you brought up a good point. You're going to hear something from your GP on what you should and shouldn't be doing. You're going to hear stuff from me on what you should and shouldn't be doing. You're going to hear from whoever else on the street. We were talking about Deepak Chopra. You're going to hear from everyone. The thing is that you need to do your research. You need to listen to your body as well and figure out what works for you.
really listen to your body and don't. I know that a lot of people past the age of 50 find that they go to food for their pleasure.
Mhm.
But that is a very dangerous way to approach food. You've got to like what you eat, but you've also got to like what it does for your body.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I will leave you with this. Before I really cleaned up my act about 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I would actually do 6 to 8 pieces of bacon as
Mhm.
my protein for dinner. Oh my God. I was on a kamikaze mission, I swear. And a lot of people are past a certain age. They figure, oh, I've got to give up sports. I've got to give up long distance running. I've got to give up this, kind of that. I'm not giving up food, damn it. That I'm holding my ground. Yeah, you're looking at one of those people who held her ground until I felt so crummy that I started to change it. And the good results and the good feelings were almost instantaneous. So, Alicia, you are fabulous. And you know what? We've got to make a second date and talk about more.
Oh, I
We
would love
hardly
to.
got there today.
Oh, yes.
Well, and Alicia is actually wearing a little Christmas costume underneath everything. And I thought, oh my God, I'm so Scroogey. I'm bougie too. I'm totally
I
bougie,
think you know what, and you need
but
to share your
Scroogey.
background, your home, because your tree is absolutely lovely, and you
I
look
love
very
my tree.
festive.
But people had to like shame me into putting it up this year. I don't know. I just was not Christmassy this year. On the other hand, I have not eaten one Christmas cookie. I've been really good on that level too. So it all evens out in the end. I thank you, Alicia Jones. Truly, you are a wealth of knowledge
Oh,
about
thank you.
self-care past the age of 50. Thank you so much. And we will see you again for sure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.